a naturopath, herbalist, and one of the world's leading iridologists with more than 40 years experience. She trained under the legendary Bernhard Jensen and is the only practitioner to have won both Iridologist of the Year and Instructor of the Year in the same year. And she founded an iridologist college in the Southern Hemisphere and is the only one who has done so. She's the author of multiple best-selling in-depth books on iridology as well as courses. And I'm really excited to hear from her in this episode how we can explain and explore this particular knowledge that can go so deep. And someone like Toni, who has done this most of her life, will have an insight that you won't find anywhere else. So this is a real treat. I'm really excited. I'm really honored that she made time for this, and this might change your view on how you see health. So welcome to the show, Toni. So nice to have you here.
Thanks very much for the opportunity. It's a pleasure to be here. And I know that right now, iridology is a bit of a hot spot. People are discovering it that didn't know it existed, or there are a lot of prejudices against iridology that have been gradually being lifted over the last, say, 5-10 years. And I'm proud to have been part of why that's been happening.
That's really cool. So there was a time where people thought there's no way that as above so below, or that something, a part of your body can reveal more about you than just what you can see, like just not the eye, but the whole body, and maybe also psychology as well.
Well, in the classical model, there were things being taught that go against human physiology. So mainstream medicine didn't really view iridology in a favorable light. That was kind of viewed as a pseudoscience. But that was possibly because the early pioneers, who did a marvelous job in teaching us everything that they knew, had some aspects misunderstood. So they thought that certain colours in your eye were indicative of toxins, and that you needed to remove those colours in order to be well. And the thing is that rather than losing colour, we actually gain it as we age. Like, for instance, some people have little brown marks on their hands and arms as they get older, and they call them age spots. Yeah. And it's a similar thing with eyes. We can get spots in our eyes as we age. So it was a big challenge to go against, the 50, 60 years of input that where most of the early pioneers in iridology were in agreement. Yeah. It's hard to buck the system, but buck it I did. And I've always been a person who I started teaching. I studied iridology in 1981, and I started teaching in 1983. And I have always had a thing that if it's not true, I can't teach it. Yes. People pay you money to learn the truth, yes, not some faction, some idea. And so when I was learning, I continued educating myself. I still believe in educating myself. I'm continuing to do that, but I've done this all my life. And I would go anywhere that there was a big conference, I would be there, anywhere in the world. And, I'd listen to other viewpoints, and I'd take those back to my clinic and put them to the test. And if I found that they worked, I would accept them, adopt them, use them for about a year to make sure that I understood it correctly. And then I would introduce that into my curriculum. But I didn't ever add new ideas straight in without testing them first. So over a period of about 18 years, Integrated Iridology was born, integrated in the fact that it is a combination of philosophies, not just from one person, whereas when I started, it was all just from Bernhard Jensen.
Do you know how he got into this? If you think about it, who would come up with an idea of looking into your eyes and knowing that it tells you more than just what your eyes are, but also beyond that? Like, what was his initial idea behind that to do that?
Well, he didn't start it. There were people back in the early 1900s, a man called Lindlar, and prior to that, there was another man called Ignaz von Peceli from Hungary, and he was a very artful person. Like, he was very talented with art, but his parents wanted him to be a doctor, a medical doctor. And they moved him away from his area where he grew up, where he was in contact with a lot of artists, and sent him to university, and he became a doctor. But when he was doing wet labs and learning about anatomy and so forth, he would make, drawings of, rather than notes of what he was learning.
Yeah.
And he noticed there was, when he came to do the anatomy of the eye, he was in awe of how complex it is, because the eye is the most complex organ in your body other than the brain. People don't realize that. It has more than 2 million working parts in each eye. So he was fascinated by the eye, and he started making complex drawings of clients that he would see of their individual eye patterns. So I'm going to show you in this little presentation how the patterns are so unique.
Yeah.
And then he would also compare, like he got to do a lot of work with cadavers, as medical doctors did in those days. And he was making notes of why the person died and comparing those notes with the drawings that he had of their eyes. And he produced the very first crude map. So I use a little map which correlates to the eyes. And he produced the very first one, which was very crude. It just had the lungs, the position of the heart, the position of the kidneys, the position of the spine, the position of the head. So it was very crude, but it was an early start.
Yeah.
Now, he was the very first who produced a text about how the eyes could reflect the body. And you know how it goes. Like, anybody comes up with anything that's new and someone's going to copy it and test it and add to that. And that's what did happen. So by the time Bernard Jensen learned this in I think it was the early 40s, it was well developed, and Jensen took it to a next step. And just like he took it to a next step, there were others who've taken it to the next step, myself included. But the model that we have today, integrated iridology, does comply with anatomy and physiology of the human body. And the language that I use teaching and using iridology is kind. So when Bernard Jensen taught iridology, he would talk about shading in the eyes representing acute conditions or degenerative conditions. And there's nothing more frightening than hearing the word degenerative in a sentence with your name in it. People, would wig out with that idea. It's just terrible. And in actual fact, over the last 45 years of my clinical experience, I've learned that having a very dark mark, which used to be called shading, it used to be called degenerative rather, doesn't mean degeneration necessarily. It simply, it indicates, in my terminology, I refer to that as a cold spot. And what he called acute, I call that a hot spot. So a hot spot is capable of producing pain, heat, suppuration, swelling. But does it necessarily It doesn't. It's a possibility. It's a predisposition in that area. So you've got to trigger it by poor nutrition or abuse of the body in some way. And whereas a very dark spot in an eye, which previously was referred to as a degenerative area, is a cold spot in that it needs stimulation. So it's maybe there's an absence of blood flow, maybe there's an absence of lymphatic activity in the area, and so on. So the terminology in integrated iridology is specific to what we would refer to as equalization of the area. So if it's a cold spot, we apply hot therapies. If it's a hot spot, we apply cooling therapies, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Great.
Fascinating.
So, yeah.
And so if I'm wondering how to go about this, because this is probably so new to many people. And, I guess if you want to give us the foundation in your presentation of how that works, I have so many questions for you, but I think you probably, hopefully, cover quite a few if you go through an example to us. But I think, like, overall, iridology is used to make the right lifestyle choices by the sounds of this as well. So if you actually know I have a position, then I can do that. It might also reveal what the history of us is, as well as where the body overall is. So it's quite a mixture of insights that you get, really deep insights, to then have strategies of how to move forward, right?
Yes, I agree with you. And I put together this very short presentation. My overriding principle with my students is less is more. And by that I mean, there's another expression often used, it's the KISS principle, keep it suitably simple. And so when a person is learning iridology for the first time, it can be literally overwhelming. There are so many questions. I mean, I've written 2 very comprehensive books, and if you can see the volumes of those books, and that's to explain the whole networking of iridology. But I felt like for the unlettered and ordinary first timer, I thought I've put this together so it's nice and simple. We're touching the edges, but hopefully everyone will get a bit of an understanding about how it goes. So to begin with, our eyes are the most complex organs except for your brain. And they utilize 65% of the pathways to our brain. In fact, I would say that probably most people, 80% of everything that you learn visually. So our eyes are so important to our taking in of knowledge. It is the most complex external structure of human anatomy, and it's also the only internal organ of the body that's visible externally. So you don't have to slice and dice to see this organ. As long as somebody's willing to open their eyes, you can see them. So the muscles of the iris are the only ones in the body derived from neuroectoderm, which is the same tissue found in the brain and spinal cord. And in fact, the eye begins its formation in the 4th week of embryonic development. So it's an integral part of every human. The iris is estimated to contain over 28,000 individual nerve fibers. And medical science has so far found no function for these fibers that seem to end blindly in the stroma, or the fibers of the eye. And it is here possibly that iridology had a reason to be born. This is a statement made by Bernard Jensen, who was, we call him the father of English iridology. So what is integrated iridology? It is a blend of the theories and philosophies from Europe, the United States, and Australia, combining the influence of physical, mental, and emotional issues. So it's not just about the physical side of human existence, because every person has a mental side and an emotional side, and we can't extrapolate one from the other. So this is my summation of what the iris means. The iris is the sum of all the person's inborn characteristics, indicating the reactive capability of the client, which in turn determines his capacity for adaptation physically, mentally, and emotionally. So, as I mentioned before, iridology is often misunderstood as being against conventional medicine. But this is not the case. It's really about observation, recognizing patterns, tendencies, and areas of stress in the body. And that information can support earlier conversations. It'll make more personalised care and better collaboration across modalities. So for me, I feel like iridology is a perfect fit for any practitioner of any modality, whether it's mainstream medicine or naturopathy or herbalism or massage or Bowen therapy. Any therapy at all is an ideal partner for integrated iridology, because it shows us what we have to work with and shows us how to interact with each person. So in integrated iridology, I always like to start with constitutional factors, because the constitution will tell you, I use the analogy of a motor car. It tells me what brand car you're driving, what model it is, what its energy efficiency is like. It'll identify what kind of driver you are, what kind of journey you're going to have, and how you're going to arrive at your destination. And the way that we assess that is by looking at three primary elements. So first of all, everyone has a colour.
Yeah.
So we have blue eyes, we have brown eyes, and we have mixed colour in the categories in iridology. And then also we look at the structural aspects of the pattern in the eye. Everyone has that. And lastly, some people, not everyone, but some people have what we call a diathesis. And these are accumulations that are on the surface of the eye. So it could be extra colour, or it could be some other phenomena that are common in iridology. So let's look at them one at a time. The colour indicates some primary elements about familial history, and it determines the foundational dietary regime to be adopted for good health. And there are three colour groups.
Okay.
So lymphatic group is the blue eyes, but which includes green. So blue, green, and grey are all in this category called lymphatic. And then we have hematogenic, which is the brown group. And brown can vary from very light brown to very, very dark brown, almost black. And then we have some eyes that are actually mixed in colour. So we have, and the way we get this, using a simple illustration, if you have a black puppy mating with a white puppy, you're going to get some black puppies and some white puppies, but you'll also get some spotty puppies where they've taken elements from the black and the white. And that's the same with humans. Like we may have a brown-eyed parent or grandparent and a blue-eyed parent or grandparent, and they can produce an offspring that has elements from both sides of the family. Does that make sense?
Yeah. I actually was wondering, I have heard, and it might not be true, that if you have blue eye and dark eye or brown eye, that normally the dark one would dominate or is more likely to occur. Is that correct, or is that just the word in the sheet is actually not true?
No, it's partially correct. The brown-eyed group are the most dominant group in the world, but It depends. There are many factors that come into what sort of offspring you're going to have. So I've had clients where both parents are brown-eyed and they've had a blue-eyed baby. So how does that work?
Yeah.
Simple. Iridology, you as an individual are a unique reflection of your parents, grandparents, and great-grandparents. So each person is a unique representation of the 3 generations behind them. So, for instance, if your father had brown eyes, his parents may have had brown eyes, or one of them could have had blue eyes, or it could have been a great grandparent.
Yeah.
But those genes are still in the mix, and they last for 3 generations.
Gotcha.
Yeah, interesting. Hey.
Yeah, crazy.
Now, when we look at the pattern or the structure of the eye, this is based on the inherent genetic structure and concerns the arrangement of the fibers, the position of the collarette, I'll show you that, and the dynamics of the pupil. The pupil is the little black spot in the middle, and the collarette is the major, or it's the major marking in the iris, and most people have a well-defined collarette. So this indicates the effect that structural weakness could have in predisposing the body to disease evolution. So that's all about the structure.
Yeah.
And these conditions that we note as possibilities can be activated or they can remain latent. So it depends on what we do with what we get. And why is the structure important? It's important because it indicates how we act and interact as we interface with our world. So we get a lot of information looking at the structure. And here we've got an example of 4 different structural types. There are actually 6 different structural types.
So this is not probably time for you to share your screen, which we actually haven't done, which I think is a good thing because...
you haven't seen the screen?
Actually pictures, did you? That's all right.
Okay. Let me just go here. Welcome back. Share. Presentation. Or screen. Share screen?
Yes, please. Oh, not share screen, share window.
I'm sorry. Right. Share window.
Yeah.
Share window. There we go. So now I'll go to here. This window. Can you see now?
Yes, perfect. Maybe just put it in presentation mode, but yeah, that's great. And we will just overlay it to the recording as well. Good. Yes. No, I didn't know that you had actually pictures.
Oh yeah, I did. I've been actually doing this as a presentation since we started.
Okay.
Yeah. So if I can, I'll just go back and just show you that there are 3 constitutional colours. So just to get an idea, we've got blue-eyed group are lymphatic, the brown-eyed group are hematogenic, and the mixed colour, we just call them mixed.
Yeah.
So structural differences. The structure is about how we act and interact as we face our environment and our world.
Yeah.
So constitutionally, I always start with the constitution. So I look for the primary colour. And the reason I do that is because each colour group has a specific base diet that suits them well. So with each group, there are foods that are good for them and foods that are not so good. And so when we start with a colour, we already have helped somebody to say, for example, in the blue-eyed group, they need to avoid mucus-forming foods. So I'll just read you an example. If it was a blue eye, they need to minimise mucus-forming foods, including dairy products, so particularly wet dairy, which is milk, cream, ice cream, sour cream, block cheese, They need to reduce refined sugar and white flour products. Excessive mucus production is also stimulated by acidic foods. So exclude common table salt, caffeinated drinks, carbonated beverages, and alcohol. Include quality protein, carbohydrates, and fats daily. And ideally, choices include plant-based protein or fish with at least 2 serves of fruit and 5 serves of vegetables. So we've actually got a dietary profile for people who are in the lymphatic group and also in the hematogenic and the mixed group. So when you start with the right diet and you avoid the foods that stimulate bad results,
Yes.
and you get a very good improvement in your health.
Wow, that's impressive. So you and you can find that out even when a child is like from a child just as much. The eye doesn't change, which means you would already know in the beginning of their life what would be the
100%.
Yes.
So my children grew up with 2 parents who understood this.
Yes.
And they hardly ever needed to go to a doctor in their whole life. They had no dental caries till they were like, I know I've got 3 of my 5 children who have no fillings. I mean, it's just amazing that when you eat right, you feel right, you develop well. You know, of course, it makes sense. You are what you eat.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so the iris reflects constitutional strengths and also it reflects predispositions. So some people have said, why are you using iris diagnosis? I avoid that term completely because I do not diagnose, and iridology is not really a diagnostic tool. It's a non-invasive assessment tool. So when we look at a person, we can see 3 generations behind them. We can also ascertain likely sites in the human body that were a problem in previous generations. And so it's not a verdict. When we look at it, it's not, you see that and it's fatalistic. If you've got marks in your lungs, you're going to get a lung condition. It's not like that. People with eyes like that are usually related to someone who may have had lung issues.
Right.
So it's a perspective. It's a very helpful perspective, and it can really make a difference to your whole life. Like you say, if a child is examined this way, their whole life can be amazing compared to if they just blindly go along following television ads telling them what to have for breakfast.
Wow. Yes, exactly, because it has nothing to do with our constitution.
Yeah. So every eye is completely unique. While most people have similarities making them identifiable pairs, a right eye has observable differences to a left eye. And if you look at these images here, go back one. So this eye has a little marking up here and many little what look like freckles. Whereas this one has far fewer freckles, and it's got a line here that this one doesn't have. So they're symmetrically opposite. So the lungs are on the outside here, and the heart is on the outside here, right where the lungs are, because the chart should be anatomically correct. And in the Integrated Iridology chart, it's color coded so that organ systems are in the same color. And you can see in this bottom photo, even though they look very alike, there are marks in this eye that are not in this eye. So every eye is completely unique, even in identical twins. This is an interesting couple of people. I knew these boys when they were babies.
Yeah.
Their mother was a friend of mine, and they were so identical that she left one of the hospital tags on one of them just so she would know which one was which, because they're so alike.
Yeah,
And
we actually the same. Like our girls are very identical, and it's only when one gains quicker a little bit of weight that we know who's who. But it's so hard to know. That's even
you're
for the
like
parents. For the sound of the voice and the movement,
yeah.
and actually the looks. Yeah, I understand.
So you can see that while their eyes are very similar,
Yeah.
The images on the lower one have some color that the upper one does not have. So every single eye is different and unique to the wearer. And that is why iridology, or not iridology, but iris images are used in biometric identification at airports and high security buildings. Because there was a study done in the Netherlands where they compared iris structure to fingerprinting, and the margin of error in fingerprints was 3%, and the margin of error in iris identification was 1 in 1.2 million.
Wow.
Think about that.
Yes. Wow.
So the eye is the structure is very, very stable.
Yes.
You are what you are when you're born. You have signs or you don't. You don't get new ones. The only thing that you can get more of is surface signs. So pigments can come. And then there's a sign called an arcus, or actually it's called a corneal arcus, and that is a sign that some people get when they get older. And here is Sebastian.
Hey.
So these are not particularly clear images, not like but these were produced in a hurry just for the sake of this show. And thank you for being so open. And I hope you don't mind what I'm going to tell you.
No, not at all, not at all.
There were no rehearsals on this. So, so I'm going to start with a constitutional analysis, and we'll just flip backwards and forwards through the screens here.
Yes.
So constitutionally, what color are your eyes?
Well, the light one, blue or green.
Yeah, so they're blue. That's right.
Right.
So we call this lymphatic. So I use these flashcards. It's a little box of 50 cards, and inside there are little cards with information on the back describing what it is that you're looking for. It's got a sample of what that might look like on the other side. And I produced these originally to help my students learn constitutional iridology, but then they've got a great tool that they can use on their desktop when they're actually having a consultation with somebody. So a lymphatic eye is various shades of blue, grey or green, with visible fibers and variable structure. Familially, these tend to have an overactive immune system, increasing the likelihood of allergies and swollen glands. Now, I want you to listen to this, Sebastian, not through just your ears. These are family traits.
Yes.
So I want you to think about your siblings and your parents and your grandparents if you knew them. Moist, scaly skin rashes are common. Skin conditions tend to be red, hot, and itchy. So things like eczema and that sort of thing.
Okay.
Inflammatory conditions become more frequent with age. So that would include skeletal inflammation, unfortunately. And one defining thing is very sensitive, very reactive mucous membranes lead to ear, nose, throat, and respiratory problems, including asthma and bronchitis. Catarrhal congestion can be triggered by a variety of irritants, including inhaled substances and foods, especially dairy, wheat, and refined sugar. And all conditions improve with warmth.
Okay, so warm is good.
Yep. And does that relate to your family history?
Yeah, warmth is certainly where it goes. Like, I'm someone who loves soups, and many in my family do, which is something that really warms you up, right? So I don't like ice cream. My kids always tease me about that because I still eat it, but it's not something I love, and I know it's not particularly great for me. Yeah.
Yeah. And on these cards, based on the emotional aspects of
Yeah.
iridology, one of your lessons is love the skin you're in and accept your limitations. Do you relate to that?
Yeah, definitely. To a degree, I guess the way that I operate is that I actually find I optimize. I am, maybe also the Germanist in myself is, if I know something needs attention, I will make
Yeah.
sure that I change my life, my habits, what I eat, and so on. To a degree, of course, like still human, but
Okay.
there's certain, so I do relate to it. Yes.
Awesome. So I'm going to back to your photos, because I'm going to just show.
Mm-hmm.
Notice that this pupil is quite small, and the fibers are very compact in both eyes. This eye has a few openings in it, but basically the structure is a small pupil and compact fibers, and that is the identifying mark of a neurogenic constitution. So a neurogenic constitution is a small pupil with compact fiber density and an absence of major structural signs. So familially, that is family issues, many neurogenic types enjoy extremely good health and have very few complaints in early life.
Yeah.
Usually hard workers, highly motivated with natural initiative, described often as a type A personality, always on the go, increasing the risk of nervous exhaustion and burnout. So that's the areas that you need to just keep an eye on. Vascular spasms can produce headaches, asthma, and nervous indigestion as they mature. Sensitivity of the mucous membranes can produce ear notes and throat issues. So we've had that twice. Moist, scaly skin rashes, hives, and atopic eczema. All conditions improve with warmth. Had that twice. And a calm setting is good for you. And your lesson in this card is focus on being rather than doing.
Look, I certainly relate to, like, I can work really well by myself. I call myself a bit of a hermit, and it's certainly where I get much more done, and calm settings for sure. I used to actually travel with earplugs all the time, sleep with earplugs,
Yep.
and light, same thing. Like, I like it almost dark. Like, I like to live in a very quite, like the opposite of a really light place. So at night you won't find much light where I am.
Yeah. Well, yeah. So this is typical neurogenic behavior. So you can be a one-man band, and you can work well on your own, and you are a workaholic, actually.
Look, I certainly always on the go, and split it up between family and business. At both, I normally look for things to do. It's just the way. We were just on holiday, and rather than just lying on the beach, I would dig trenches with the kids, or try to do somehow productive.
Well, that's good, because you have that's that lesson. Focus on being rather than doing.
Yeah.
So take time to smell the roses.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So now you also have a small pupil and a small collarette. So I'll show you the collarette.
Yes.
Is this mark around here? Can you see where my mouse is? And again over here. So it's very small, and it's also jagged. So this is a small pupil and a small collarette. So what that means, going back to the illustration of the car, the pupil indicates how much pressure you have to put on the pedal to get going.
Yeah.
So on the accelerator, you need very little pressure to get going. You're a self-motivated person who gets up and gets on. And the size of the collarette indicates how much fuel you use in getting something done. And for you, you have great fuel economy. So you can work really hard and not wear out quickly. And the area outside the collarette, which is this area here, we call this the ciliary zone. This equates to the size of your fuel tank, which is very large.
Wow.
So you have a very, very soft touch on the accelerator, very fuel efficient with a huge fuel tank. A lot of people would like one to have those today. So it means that you're really like the ever ready bunny. You can just go and go and go. And but the warning there is that you may miss out on, some pleasures in life by just being too focused on one thing. So the idea is to expand your vision and be good at everything that you do. I'm sure you already are, but perhaps more time, like you say, like with the kids on the beach and that sort of thing. It's good for you and it's good for them. Now, in my second textbook, which is called Mind Matters, the emotional aspects of integrated iridology, we look at a personality aspect, and for you are a shaker jewel. And what that means is that you love information. I mean, of course, you're a podcaster. I mean, it's the perfect occupation for you. And you were saying before that you were in a business and something was missing, and this was the thing, information. You needed to get information. You needed to help people learn. And this is what a jewel does. A jewel is a person who actually can live inside their head. They know it like they know it like they know it. When you learn something, you want to learn it at a university level so that you can explain it to someone else and know it like it's your own. Yeah. This is the nature of the jewel. And the shaker aspect is somebody who will rattle the cages of people who think they know something different. You're not afraid to say, excuse me, but no, you've got that wrong because I found out this and this is right. So a shaker jewel is a person who is a trendsetter, a go-getter, and someone who is not afraid to speak their truth, which may be very different from what is commonly held as, sanctioned. Yeah. Do you relate to that?
Yes, I do relate to that strongly. And I found it fascinating that this must be by trial and error or just by seeing people's trait to be that specific. Like, it definitely rings truth to me.
Good. Now, going back to your small collarette, it also indicates small intestinal capacity, and you suit small, frequent meals of high-quality ingredients. In fact, habitual dietary overindulgence is your pathway to illness. So if you keep your meals moderate, you can live a very long, happy, healthy life. And just to mention, anxiety and excitement can induce overcontraction of the digestive tract, particularly the sphincter muscle, which can produce gut tension and indigestion, leading to constipation with an inability to let go. For this reason, it's inadvisable to eat when feeling anxious. Avoid eating when you're watching the news. Don't do that. Okay. Choose unrefined, nutrient-dense foods, and specific herbals include carminatives and emulsants. So chamomile, peppermint, cinnamon are all good for people with a small collarette. Mm-hmm. And the character is the sign of an introvert. They can be independent, observant, discreet, and fond of their own company. They're very good confidence, but can be burdened by too much information. So people will tell you their secrets because you tend not to, make those public.
Yes. Look, just a comment to the audience, which I find absolutely fascinating. It's if I often say know thyself, because I believe it's absolutely crucial to understand who you are and what works for you and what not. And there's an aspect of, first of all, you need to know yourself, but then also how can I actually negotiate the space without, if you live in a group of people, meaning a family, or you're still at home and you're with your parents and so on. It's crucial, I think, to really say what works for you. So for me, quite extreme. Christmas to me was always a pressure cooker, because there were, normally at least 10 people around, if not more. We're a small family. It's probably not big for many, but like for me, that was quite a bit, and maybe even more. I would have breaks. I would go into my room and read something or do something very different, and then go back. And same in holidays. Like I would stay sometimes behind when other people would go. And to your point of being a researcher, like I would learn something. I would actually look into what could I do here. So I remember my teenage years, I would learn coding in a book, because I just wanted to learn while I was on holiday. I just could not help my drive. And I think if you know that, and even though people might not accept that you learned it from iridology, you just like, I know this makes me feel good. And you just go with that. But to me, the path of starting to understand what works for you is priceless, because life is so much easier that way. You don't fight and you don't doubt that you do the wrong things, right? I'm wrong.
Yeah.
Why am I like that?
So that's because you have a shaker jewel nature.
Here you go.
Shaker jewel. So, yes. So, and the other thing is that you are left brain dominant, which means that you've just virtually summarized what that means. So it's very much about the thought process rather than the emotion. So it's the analytical side is dominant rather than the artistic side. And I'll show you just in here.
Yeah.
So these little dots here, we call them jewels. And who wouldn't want to have jewels in their eyes?
Yes.
But jewels also mean focus. And you have an incredible ability to focus on whatever it is that you're doing. And these are called flowers. See this?
Mm-hmm.
In classical iridology, they're called lacuna, or holes in the structure. And your ideal partner will have lots of these.
Yes.
Because you're a speaker.
Right.
You're a speaker because you have knowledge and you're confident in what you know is right. And she's the listener. So people with flower patterns, they're more emotional than analytical, and they learn through what they hear. And an ideal partner is going to be someone who speaks, because their opposites attract.
Yes.
So I don't know the pattern of your wife, but if you're happily married, I'd say she's a flower pattern.
Yeah, makes sense.
Now, one more thing. Your eyes are remarkably different. So the left eye is very different in structure than the right.
Yes.
So this is extremely neurogenic, and this one is almost glandular, not quite enough lacuna, but you have an open flower pattern in this right eye, and a very neurogenic pattern, or we call this a stream. So you'll be a shaker stream jewel. So shaker loves bringing people together. A stream pattern loves bringing people together. And there's nothing like a podcast that would do that better. Looking at that, when we see such dynamic differences from right to left eye, and I don't know your background, Sebastian, so I'm just putting it out there, but it usually means that there was really big differences in the parents. So, for example, it may be, say, Russian and Melanesian, or from very different tribes, very different groups. Or it could also be, say, a staunch Catholic and a Taoist, very different in belief systems.
Right.
Does that equate to your parents?
Yeah, definitely. They come from different areas. One is sort of more the Russian side. The other side is more sort of the Scandinavian side, and the Nordic. So
Quite different.
Quite different, and in belief as well. So that makes sense too.
Yeah, isn't that interesting? And may I ask you also which child you are in the family?
Number one.
Number one. And so this is your father's eye, and this is your mother's eye. So I believe that you would have been her heart child. You're much closer to your mother than your father.
Yeah. Gee.
And was your relationship with your father difficult?
Yeah. I mean, nowadays it's different, but like coming, before becoming an adult, that's certainly the pattern. Yeah.
Yeah. So you see there's a lot of markings and so on in here that relates to the struggle that you had with your father. And I can't explain that in this, that's a whole lesson. But it was interesting that your eyes show your truth. Your eyes show you who you really are in so many levels. Like, we have not conversed prior to today.
No,
so I knew nothing about you except your eyes. So I hope I've been able to demonstrate the value of integrated iridology.
Yes, it's wonderful. It's absolutely stunning how that works. Yes.
So I thought that I could offer some special things for your viewing audience. Some people might want to know more. So the Integrated Iridology textbook, this is a lot of, most people that get it say it's their Bible once they get it, because it's got so much stuff in it. And I've offered $100 saving on that book. And I've offered $100 saving on Mind Matters as well, which these are both international bestsellers.
Yes.
And some people might just like to get some constitution cards. So they can do that at my website, which is iridologyonline.com. Just go to the shop link and you'll see books as a link. And you can use the code podcast. If you'd like to learn iridology, you can do individual classes, or you can do an advanced physical iridology course, which is 8 classes. But I'm offering just a once-off thing, 20% on courses, and that will be available, for the next till the end of May.
Brilliant. I love that. Thank you so much. That's really, really kind.
My pleasure.
And being a knowledge person, for me, that's really appealing, because I always believe that knowledge is power, and you have more sovereignty in basically about your life and what happens in your life when you understand more. So thanks for explaining that with my eyes. I hope it wasn't too specific for the audience, but certainly as the audience, they could definitely see how deep you can go, and I'm sure there's much more to it as well. So
there's more.
But basically, if you would have a reading with someone, if you call it reading or a consultation, you really walk away with the plan of how to support your body better with the right way of eating, with the right settings for the eating as well. You were saying don't watch the news when you eat, and I believe many people are on their phone when they eat, which is similar. They digest also knowledge as well as digesting their food at that time. So I'm really aware of that. Some like to do it alone, and some in a group, and so many other aspects. And I believe these are all strategies, and if you stack the odds in your favor, it's just a really much bigger chance that you thrive in life. That's always how I view this knowledge.
Yeah. Well, I always say that the best place to eat your meals is at a table with your family.
Yes.
With the television off.
Yes. Start together.
And don't say, how did your day go? Because if the kids have had a terrible day at school, that's going to, if you could say, what was the best thing that happened today?
Great.
And get people talking about the good things that happened to them in the day, or what are you grateful for today?
Yeah.
It's a nice environment. Everybody feels comfortable. And if you make it a habit, children know that the best part of their day is the evening meal with mum and dad.
Yep. Yeah, agreed. We really focus on that and be clear that, that setting really matters, and it also creates beautiful memories. Now,
Yeah.
Coming back to iridology and how what it can tell you. I have one way that I got introduced to iridology, and I quickly tell the story. It was basically a friend of mine. She was in her teenage years and somehow could not eat anymore. And the mother tried different doctors and nothing worked, and she just would always throw up her food, just out of nowhere. And I don't know why the mother thought that going to an iridology session would be the right way, but somehow she thought, I'd do something completely unusual and I take my daughter there. And she went to the iridologist, and they looked into her eyes and said, did you have an accident or a fall recently? And she said, oh no, I can't remember anything like that. And it's like, oh, that's odd, because I do get that something happened there. And she thought a little bit harder, and she had a near miss in a car, which broke really hard the brakes. And the seat belt basically pushed in a rip into her digestion area, and she couldn't eat. And so the iridologist saw that and said, you have to see a physio or someone to get that sorted out again, and you will be fine. And so she went, and as soon as the rib was put in place, I think it was a rib, she was fine again, and she could eat. And it always stuck with me as, wow, that's really specific. It's hard to believe, but because I know her and I know that it definitely did happen that way, I thought that was just unbelievable. Does that ring true?
My introduction to iridology was I attended a consultation with my friend,
yes,
who had a terrible gut problem. And he went and saw an iridologist. And as soon as he looked into his eyes, he said to him, you have a liver problem. You have to avoid this, this, and this, and you have to include this, this, and this. And he did that. And in a matter of 2 or 3 weeks, we saw this person who was dull and lifeless spring into life and enjoy life again. And, I just never forgot how quickly that assessment was made. And once the recommendations were followed, an amazing improvement in his health. And actually, the first time someone looked in my eyes, they said to me, you've got asthma. And I said, no, I haven't got asthma. Oh, yes, you have. No, I haven't. I've never had asthma in my life. Oh, okay. Well, anyway, you've got marks in your lung. So when I was expecting my first child, I developed asthma. And I couldn't believe it. I developed asthma. So I went to a naturopath, like the person who told me was my friend who'd been doing a course, but I went to a naturopath, and she put me onto some, changed my diet and so on. And I actually managed to never have asthma again in my life. But I've got 5 children, and 3 of them had asthma. And then years later, when I was learning the stuff that I've put in here, this book, I learned that the mark in my eye is in my right eye, which is from my father's side of the family. And my father died from lung cancer.
Wow.
So that's why we say, if you've got a mark in an area, people with eyes like this are usually related to someone who had lung issues, in my case.
Yeah.
So does that mean I could get a lung issue? Yes, it does, because it depends on what you do with what you get. So if I was to work in a dusty environment, I'm inviting a problem into what is my nurture point. I've got to look after, if I look after my lungs will look after me.
Wow. So would you actually say that also determines where we should live? Certainly how we should live, and it
how you should live, or the kind of environment, yes.
Yeah. So we're in the Northern Rivers, that's subtropical. It's probably, has more spores and it has more it's a bit heavier on the lungs, I would say, even though it's moisture. But like I certainly thrive more where it's really dry air, where I'm actually from, northern Germany.
Yeah.
Whereas here I would say it's certainly something that I'm aware of, that people develop all sorts of issues with their lungs because of where they are.
Yeah.
Listening to you, it probably sounds like they have blue eyes.
Maybe.
Well, and the other aspect. I have a couple of other questions for you. So,
Yep.
Can you talk a little bit more about nurture points?
Yes. Well, when I learned iridology, I learned that if an area was dark, it was weak. If an area was open in pattern, it was weak. Mm-hmm. And I remember, I recall this vividly. One of my very first clients that I ever had when I graduated, she had a flower pattern, lots of openings in the fibre. And I said, oh, your lungs are weak, and your kidneys are weak, and your adrenals are weak, and your thyroid is weak. And I'm going around her whole body, and I watched her shoulders gradually get lower and lower. And she said to me, should I go make a will?
Oh, yeah.
It was so disempowering for her to hear me say this. And I'm thinking, how could you ever say that to anyone?
Yeah.
So now, instead of saying your structure is weak, we say, oh, you have a flower structure. Now, you imagine somebody who's struggled maybe with energy and so on, and they go to an iridologist and they get told that they're weak. They just feel disempowered. But when I say, oh, you have a flower pattern, they think that's just lovely. And if you tell them that they have jewels, which are the pigment spots, that's another big plus. I've got jewels and flowers in my eye, and you're a shaker if you have. So then they're feeling, wow, this is amazing. Like, so what does that mean? And then when you tell them all the benefits, because the flower pattern, they sift everything through the filter of their very soft heart. So they're very whereas Bernard Jensen would have said this person is very weak, a flower pattern is very soft. And if you think about all the superlatives that you would use to describe flowers, they're beautiful, they're elegant, they're soft, they're precious, they're delicate, they need attention. All of those superlatives fit the flower pattern iris person. So a jewel, what is a jewel? It's valuable, it's dense, it's hard, it's rigid, it's brilliant. It's, all of those things describe somebody who is a jewel. So the terminology can really impact on your hearer, and it can influence their willingness to follow your direction. So, of course, my direction is to try and make them the best version of them possible. Yeah. If I speak to them in the language they understand, they're more likely to go home and embrace that.
Yeah, makes sense. How many iridologists are there in the world? Is it a profession that is well represented right now?
That is a really great question. I have no idea. I mean, when I became a naturopath, it was part of the naturopathic course. But because there's a couple of reasons here. Like, number one, the model that I originally learned, the classical iridology model, does not comply with human physiology. And so many of the colleges have been taken over by universities now. Like, Australia had some of the best natural therapy colleges in the world, bar none. But they were purchased by tertiary institutions who took over teaching naturopathy and made it a science degree. Like, you can get a degree of natural science or natural health. And so they threw out many of the subjects that used to be part of classical naturopathy, including iridology. So when I established the College of I.R.I.S, I did it with the purpose of exclusively teaching iridology, no other subjects. So I only teach iridology. I'm the only college in the Southern Hemisphere that does that. And the reason that I did that was I just wanted to focus on one thing. And I knew that if I did that, because I'm also a shaker jaw like you, that I knew that if I put all my energy into that it would amount to more than if I softened the syllabus by adding, other subjects, which other people will teach much better than me. So I've just focused on that. And of course, it's been my pleasure to teach people from both sides of medicine. So I've taught naturopaths, herbalists, Bowen therapists, masseurs, etc. And I've also taught nurses and pharmacists and doctors. And it's a pleasure to be able to do that. So I feel like because naturopathy no longer includes iridology as a subject, the numbers are not rising as they should. But I'm hoping that I will make a difference. I'm hoping that my material will expand and, more people will embrace it. The majority of the people who do my advanced courses have learned some little bit of iridology and know there's more, so they come to finish their training.
So if someone feels called to experience a session to start with, how do they know that the person that offers iridology has had in-depth training rather than part of another degree, which might be just as in-depth, I don't know, but I would just listening to you made it a really focused study area, and I believe, well, I guess the overall question is, how do I find a good iridologist and know that they're good or well trained?
You ask them. How much iridology have you done?
Yeah, right.
I mean, my students, my students get one of these. So there should be a something hanging on the wall that indicates that they have studied iridology. So if they've got a thing of naturopathy, that doesn't mean that they've learned iridology well. People who have done advanced level training will usually have some form of certificate stating that. And the practitioner is proud to show their credentials.
Yes. Yeah, that makes sense. Great. Well, that answers that. Very different question. Blind people, they often have sort of milky eyes. Does that mean they can't use iridology, or does that mean that something has fundamentally changed, or can they still be assessed in a normal way, if you like, in a common way?
Look, if the pattern is visible, it can be used. But it's not easy with blind people because a lot of them have strabismus, which means that the eye shakes. So it's very hard to get a good image and a good view. And of course, if the eye is milky, that's useless. You can't read a milky eye, and you can't read an eye that has morphological changes. So some people are born with coloboma and other genetic weaknesses, so it renders the eye unreadable. But if the eye pattern is whole, you could still do it. So it depends. You'd have to say that would be on an individual basis.
Yeah. Wow, that's fascinating to that. What for you, like after 40 years of practicing this, what still keeps you amazed about this subject and about how you can read so much and learn so much about the person in front of you?
I love seeing the lights go on.
Yeah.
I love the feedback. So I closed my doors on my clinic 5 years ago.
Yeah.
And so I'm focusing more on materials like writing and also teaching. But I had a student who graduated 3 weeks ago. Oh, no, probably more, 2 months ago. And she asked me, could you do an analysis? And I said, well, not really. I'm not seeing anyone anymore. She said, and then she wrote to me and she said, my husband has offered to bring me to Australia if you will see us both. And they came from North Carolina in America for a consultation. So, of course, I embraced that for them. And we had a consultation, it was so fantastic. And it just made me remember how much I loved it when I was still doing it. Yeah. But it's the power that you give back to someone when they find out who they are.
Yeah.
Like, I'm sure that there were little wheels that were going in your head when I was reading those things to you that, that's private for you. But I know that there would have been things where you went, oh, wow.
Yes.
Because that happens with everybody. But, when you're doing face-to-face, you actually get those reactions and you hear the banter between the husband and the wife was amazing. So I love eyes. I've always loved them. I've never seen two the same. I never cease to be amazed by the feedback that comes when you look at something and say it to the person. I mean, it's just so wonderful. And in my experience, I've had the privilege of knowing people right up until they died. I've attended 11 births because I used to specialize in infertility. And, I've seen 82 babies were a result of my iridology plus herbalism experience, 82 babies, and I was able to attend 11 of those births. I've had a rewarding, richest life you could ever imagine. And the opening words in both my books, I'll just show you this, is make your passion your profession and you never work a day in your life.
Yes, beautiful.
And so that's the life that I've lived. I absolutely am passionate about what I do. And my husband says, well, what's the use of trying to fight you to stop it? It's part of who I am.
So trying to understand how you would have gone about helping with fertility, because I sometimes forget how much of a big problem this is nowadays. And I don't know if people always have even an idea where to look. They just say, well, we're just not lucky, or, that's just what our body is. So this is not what will happen for us. But by the sounds of it, having spoken to you for an hour now, it's really about knowing what your body needs and choosing the winning strategy, which comes out of a consultation. But really specifically, when it comes to fertility, are there some areas that are really obvious to you to focus on first?
Yeah, the health of the reproductive system in both parties. Like, the men always think it's the woman's fault.
Really?
And the women don't even think that maybe it's the man's fault. So it's a matter of assessing the health of their reproductive organs, which is in the chart, which is down in this area.
I think I have a shadow there.
Sorry?
I think in my eyes I have a shadow in there.
Yes, you do. Yeah, you do.
Yeah.
So it's a matter of then using herbal medicine is the original medicine. Pharmaceuticals didn't exist before not in any great degree before the early 1900s. So herbal medicine is just amazing at bringing back homeostasis, which is balance. And so it's not just a matter of identifying the areas needing treatment, it's knowing the herbs that stimulate whatever is lacking.
Gotcha. Right. So I would say, so that sounds to me like you have sort of like a bit of a suite of herbs and maybe also how to live that helps reproduction anyway. Or would you say
Yes.
okay, gotcha. But then there might be also that part where you say, yeah, this is the suite that works for this type, and then I have another for that type. So it gives you.
I'll give you an example.
Great.
I'll give you an example.
Yeah.
My daughter was married for 6 years, and they were trying to have a baby, and nothing was happening.
Mm-hmm.
And I hadn't really looked at my son-in-law's eyes, looking specifically at that area. But he had some signs, and I said to him, look, just go see the doctor, maybe get a sperm test, just check that everything's okay.
Yeah.
And he did that, and the doctor that he saw was one of my close associates.
Yeah.
And anyways, I was seeing her professionally for myself for something, and she said to me, look, I need to tell you about this, but she said he has less than 3% motility, and of that 3%, less than half of that is mobile. So she said, I think that there won't be any grandchildren. And that was devastating to us because we wanted to be grandparents, and it was even more so to my daughter.
Yes.
And anyways, we made him a herbal medicine, and so our herbal medicines, they come in 500 ml bottles, which last 5 weeks. He got 1 bottle, and my daughter was pregnant in the following month.
Wow.
And when I saw the doctor, she said, if I hadn't seen the tests with my own eyes, if I hadn't done his test and I didn't diagnose her successful pregnancy, I would not have believed this.
Yeah.
It is unbelievable. So 2 years later, they wanted another child, and he got the same mixture, and bingo, a son. Wow. So they got a pigeon pair in 2 bottles. Like, can you believe it? It's just unbelievable. And I mean, I use that example because they were the quickest to respond of anybody that I'd ever treated for infertility. So even when you have really low sperm count and really low motility, it's still possible to get things going. And we do still have a clinic. It's not a clinic. We still have a dispensary because we've had clients that we've had for 50, 60 years.
Yes.
Not that long. Sorry. What am I talking about? For 40 years.
Yeah.
And we're seeing the 3rd generation now, but not as consults, just as, if they need a mixture, like when COVID was happening, we have an amazing immune formula, and I mean, we sold liters of it. We still, take care of those people that we're in contact with.
Gotcha. Oh, so it's not an official online store?
No. We still do mixtures for anyone, for anything. Yeah.
Oh, brilliant. How do we find you there? Is that a part of the College of I.R.I.S, or is that a different website?
No, my email is info@iridologyonline.com. So the website is iridologyonline.com, and the email is info@
Great.
the website.
Gee.
Yeah.
I think about all the different people that have told me just in the last year that they would like to have kids, but it doesn't quite happen. So I might give them a Christmas present or something like that. That would be. You never know. Yeah.
No, you don't. You never know. You don't know if you don't try.
So I don't know if I just missed it, but does our eye change much over time? Like, can you see lifestyle choices being reflected eventually in our eye as well?
Yeah. You can. People can develop a white ring around their eye, which is about their vascular system. They can also develop what I call secondary pigments. So these are like those little freckles that you had.
Yeah.
I'll just give you a heads up on something. So in another presentation that I have in my classes,
Yeah.
There's one on pigmentation, and one of the slides features one of my grandchildren who at the age of 4 had a very flower pattern and 0 pigments anywhere. And then when she was about 12, she started to get a little pigment. And then when she was 14 and then 17 and so on, it got darker and darker and darker. And I was sharing this originally with some students in class, how she had developed a pigment, and some of my newcomers are going, oh no, like, does that mean it's toxic in that area? And I said, no, it means that she's going to become more focused, because the flower pattern is very airy-fairy and, everything's fine and they're just lovely, and they're sort of, they're not grounded. They're very emotional, very reactive, and they're lovely, but they can't focus. And pigments, jewels, make focus come. So I see jewels as a good thing, not a negative thing, at one level. So the nature of pigments, I have a webinar on my website. So there's in the shop link, there's a drop down menu, and if you find webinars, so anybody that wants more information on specifics, I think there's 7 or 8 webinars in there on individual topics, including the pigments that I'm talking about. And they're $40 each. It's not a lot of money, and they usually go for about an hour. There's one on signs of cardiovascular risk. There's one on signs of the digestive system. There's another one of signs of the urinary system. There's one on signs of potential breast risk, because breast cancer is out of control at the moment. I don't know whether you know that, but it's a very big worry. So these are specifically related to topics that people are very interested in.
Just while we are on breast cancer as an example, so by the sounds of it, you have your views on, well, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but it sounds like you have a good idea of how to support not getting breast cancer, and probably putting it coming also from the diagnostic, or from reading the eye, you probably also see, this person is more likely to have it, or would really benefit from doing these prevention or those prevention. Could you talk a little bit about how to give yourself the best chance not to get breast cancer from an iridology point of view and herbalist point of view?
Yeah. Well, it's the same for any disease. Whether or not you develop or avoid any pathology depends on the way you eat, drink, think, live, and love. So if I choose to eat badly, drink not enough, or drink the wrong sorts of things, if I think bad thoughts, I'm bringing bad energy, and I'm very much about energy. So eat, drink, think, live. How am I living? Am I living in an environment that's conducive to health? Do I smoke? Do I live near an industrial pipe or something like that? And love is the key to long lasting, vibrant health. Because if I can love badly. Do you understand that? I can love the wrong person. I can love people who don't love me.
Yes.
I can choose somebody like my alcoholic, abusive father because it feels like home to me. But is that going to be good for me long term? So it's about who loves me and who I love. If I do those things well, I can avoid pathology. If I do those things or any of those things badly, I can invite it. Now, the I.R.I.S pattern tells me where that's likely to land.
Yeah. So
according to my little chart.
yes. So that's super practical, really. So if we, so if I get your charts, I would then take a really high res picture of either side of my eyes, and basically just match it, right? And that will give me a good understanding of, like, this is how you can support, your particular type. This is what will work for you. And normally, intuitively, or when you try it, you will know that this feels good, right?
Look, as a starting thing, this is where you would start.
Yeah.
It's a in there. You like. I always think that you don't. It's kind of like, would I let somebody who read a book on brain surgery operate on my brain? No.
Yeah.
But if a person is just curious for family, like a box of cards.
Yeah.
You still get good information. I mean, if you look at a person's eyes, if you need a little magnifier. Oh. So a little magnifying glass.
Yeah.
Can give you like a 10x view of the eye, to just sort of see where you are, or take photos and send it to somebody who can get, like, the photos that you sent me were not great images, but I could still do the constitutional analysis.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Constitutions is the most valuable aspect of physical iridology. It tells me your right kind of diet. It tells me how you act and react as you interface with your world. It tells me the language to use when I'm speaking to you. So if I was speaking to somebody who had a flower pattern, I would talk to them about things that would make them feel my words. If I'm talking to somebody who has a jewel pattern like you, I'm going to give you information because I know I want to make you think how things are.
Not only for partners, but for friends and for kids in particular, right? It's how do you actually access them? Yeah.
How do you get through to them? Like the one boy, there's a chapter in my Mind Matters book, the purple one.
Yeah.
And it's on birth order. And depending on which child you are, so you said you were a one boy, well, we call him the dreamer. So the one boy, this is the explanation of the one boy. When you're talking to an eldest boy, when he's little, if you yell at him, he just switches off. You have to talk quietly, and he listens closely. You know what I mean? It's a matter of how do we speak to our eldest girl? Our eldest girl is father's heart child. So she is his little princess. And even in twins, how many children do you have?
5 so far, all girls.
5 girls. You're looking for that little boy.
I really like that, actually. It's just, we always ask ourselves, do we want another child? We always wanted big family even before we met each other, really.
Yeah. And so where are the twins?
They're in the middle. So there's an 11-year-old, a 7-year-old, and then the twins are 4 and 4, and then there is a 2-year-old.
2-year-old, okay. So the eldest girl should be slightly larger in her build than the second girl.
Yes.
And then the first one that came out will be more like her big sister, and the fourth girl will be slighter again than the second one down.
Yeah. I think that rings truth.
And the fifth one is she's going to be squishy. And you know what? The fact that you said yes shows me that you have a really nice family, because that's how it should be. And when the body shape isn't that shape, it indicates there's a problem either between the parents or the parents and grandparents. Yes. That's all in birth order, which is another subject that Integrated Iridology teaches.
Wow,
It's so expansive, so
yes,
expansive.
brilliant. Gee, there's so much to learn. I mean, I'm thinking, look, I use AI quite a bit, and I get feedback on, how I approach certain things, and I think I will probably include my type of iridology too, and say like from my type, how would you travel? How would you have this particular meeting or this particular offsite day, structured, or how can I, get the most out of my productivity? Certainly, like that's quite a left brain, I guess, thinking, but the same.
But you are left brain.
But I think the best way is really reading both of your books and being really deeply ingrained with that, because to me it is a framework that just makes relationships, by the sounds of it, so much better, but also understanding your own health and the winning formula, and being able to point other people also towards looking into it and finding, their winning.
100%.
Yes.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Look, it was great talking to you. I actually have normally five questions that we ask everyone who comes onto the show.
Oh.
Okay, you might have not heard, but look, what I just start and you just shoot from the hip. What's the best advice you ever received? Very expensive question.
Do what you love, and you never work a day in your life.
Yes.
Oh, and the second one is never let the sun set on an argument. So resolve the problems of the day before you go to bed, because there's no better pillow than a good conscience.
Do you have a third one? They're great.
No, that's probably the one.
If you could have a coffee or a tea or a juice with anyone, dead or alive, who would it be?
It would be my father.
Yeah.
Who died when I was 5.
Oh, okay, that's early.
But I was the apple of his eye, and I just wish I did see your questions, and I really thought long and hard, but he would be hands down my favorite person.
Yeah, understand. What's the most impactful book that you've read?
The Bible.
Which one? Old Testament, New Testament, or both?
But no, the whole Bible. I've been an avid reader of the Bible since 1970. I read it every day. I love it. And particularly now, because right now we're actually seeing fulfillment of prophecy happening around the world. So it's super, super interesting when you look at it from that viewpoint.
Do you want to talk a little bit more about that? I found that fascinating.
Yeah. When Jesus was on earth, he had one theme, and he talked about the kingdom. I don't know whether you've ever heard the Lord's Prayer.
I have, yes.
So he said that to his listeners. He said, "Our Father who art in heaven." So he wasn't talking to himself. He said, "Our Father." So he is including himself with his listeners, "Our Father who art in heaven." So there is he's talking to God in heaven. So he is not God himself. And do you remember the next part?
I would not.
Hallowed be thy name.
Yeah.
So hallowed means special, like it's very special. So God has a name. So what is his name?
It's not God. The Father?
Well, they're titles,
yes.
But you have a name, Sebastian.
Yes.
And I have a name, and Jesus had a name. So what is God's name?
You have to help me out.
Well, do you know what Jesus' name means?
So his name is, Jesus is just one way of saying it. Isn't it Jeshua? Or do I get that wrong?
Jeshua? Yeah, Jeshua. And do you know what Jeshua means?
No.
It means Jehovah is salvation. So God's name is Jehovah.
Oh, gotcha. Right.
So our Father, so he was speaking about his Father and our Father,
Mm.
who lives in heaven, hallowed be your name, Jehovah.
Mm.
Then he said, thy kingdom come.
Mm.
So what is a kingdom? Literally, in our understanding as humans.
Well, it's an area. It's something where the reign of the king is accepted as the law.
Yeah, so there's a king and there's an area and there's people, subjects.
Mm.
Yeah. So just pause for a minute and consider, so could this kingdom that Jesus spoke about be a government?
I would doubt it. I think it's a mindset.
Yeah. But let me just go with me on this.
Yeah.
So thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. So Jesus was saying, when my kingdom comes, Jehovah's will be done on earth as it is being done in heaven.
So what does that practically mean?
So it means that, so this is where prophecy comes into it. In the book of Revelation, it talks about a time when Satan was cast out of heaven, not ever to be allowed back up there again.
Mm-hmm.
And it says that he became the god of this system. So when we see all the turmoil and with all the ugly stuff that's coming out about the Epstein files and all that horrible child trafficking and so on,
yeah.
Could you say that this was backed by a loving God, or would it be more likely to be backed by a satanic influence?
Look, that's highly. It depends on how you look at it. I believe everything is done by God. So I would say, it's certainly God has overall holds the space. So, but was it influenced?
Well, we know that ultimately he will be supreme.
Yeah.
But it does. Revelation talks about a battle between the God of the universe, which is Jehovah, and Satan, the God of this system, this world.
Yeah.
So, and there are many scriptures that refer to him as the main influence in the world.
Right.
So when we see all these dreadful things happening, it's not really about a human thing. It's a battle between who has the right to rule the universe. And ultimately it will be the creator rather than the created. So Satan was not here before Jehovah. Jehovah was here first.
Yeah.
And so in further scriptures, Jesus is identified as the king of the kingdom that will liberate humanity.
So that means we are, like, listening to you, you're basically saying it's coming to a head.
Yes, it's definitely coming to a head.
Yeah.
Have you heard of the term Armageddon?
Yeah, I have.
Yeah. So Armageddon is God's war against Satan.
Right.
And there will be survivors. Jesus said those who call on the name of Jehovah will be saved.
Right.
So there is no pressure here, Sebastian, but it's good to get to know who Jehovah is so that he recognizes when we say our name. Like when we hang off from here, if I rang you up and said, hey, Sebastian, this is Toni, you know who I am now.
Yeah.
But if we just say, hey, Jehovah, and we've never had anything to do with him, he doesn't know us and we don't know him.
Yeah, right. I'm brought up really differently that way because I was thinking, like, for myself, I'm God's child. There's nothing like, because it's an all-knowing being, it will know who I am.
Yeah. But he is actually a real person and you can have a real relationship with him.
Yeah.
And it's a very personal thing. And he doesn't conscript He does not conscript anyone. But here's the thing. He is a hearer of prayer, and he hears everyone's prayers, regardless of what religion they are. He is the hearer of prayer. He never gave that responsibility to Jesus. He is the hearer of prayer. But Jesus did say, nobody comes to the Father except through me. And he also said that Jehovah is a hearer of prayer, and he calls his people. So he's a reader of hearts.
Yeah.
So in my belief, Jehovah hears our prayers and has a look at our heart.
Yeah.
And if he sees our heart is open and willing, he will pull us to him. And that's not something I can do. That's something that every individual can or refuse to do.
Yeah.
So as you can probably guess, I'm one of Jehovah's Witnesses.
Never had this conversation before. I'm quite universal with that, but I can see the specifics. Yeah. And good, that iridology will certainly get you into the sort of the freedom to choose things better when you are not under pressure, when you actually live your winning formula. It's much more likely.
Oh, 100%.
Choices like that. Yes.
No, 100%.
Last question.
Yes.
How do you start your day? Do you have a particular routine, or do you have a particular sort of flows that you follow?
Yep. So I get up every morning at 7. My husband brings me a cup of tea.
Into bed?
And sorry?
Into bed?
Yeah.
Oh, very nice.
So I drink my cup of tea, and we have an app on our phone that there's a scripture every day that we read and discuss together. Right. And then I get out of bed and I go to the dining table and I do Wordle, which is a game where you've got to choose a 5-letter word and work out what it is. You get no clues. You can start with any word you want, and you get 6 attempts to get it right. And we have a family chat, so we all do it, and we compare who got the best score each day. Today I got it in 3.
Oh, well done.
but that's just good for keeping the cogs turning, Yeah. And then I make breakfast for Rex, and then I go to have a shower and start my day.
Beautiful. Sounds good. Yeah, mental exercise is so important, eh?
Yeah, very important.
Yeah, beautiful. Toni, it was really, really wonderful to talk to you in such depth, and you taking the time to be with me and explain this so deeply. I'm sure our audience really, really enjoyed diving really deeply, which is for me always a focus, so that people really can understand what it is we talk about. I think this on the surface, things are really hard to sometimes believe and buy into, or really understand how that could even happen. But the way that you explained it, I think great pointers, and I encourage everyone to look into the materials that you have created. They're really special and really unique on Earth anyway, and really specifically for their life. It will give them just pointers of how to live towards their winning strategy of what their personality shows through the eye.
Thank you. The end goal is to be the best version of you possible.
Yeah.
And an I.R.I.S exam will tell you, what you've got to work with, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's been an absolute pleasure, Sebastian. Thank you so much for inviting me. I've really enjoyed it.
Thanks for all your work, all the knowledge that you got out there, all the people you helped, and really excited to actually, go on my own path and learn much more about